All right. So what I want to do today, guys, is I'm gonna do the part two studies. So one of the studies that I want you to do focus on this assignment cycle is do a study of a master and an artist of choice. If the artist of choice happens to be another master, that's fine. I just want you to have a study that's at least of someone who's trying to push for realism a little bit more, although it can be like stylized realism. Think of Leyendecker. I want you to kind of go there, study that, try to understand what they do, and I'll go through that a little bit of what I'm thinking about when I'm studying these artists. Um, so that's what I want you to focus on, as well as when you study an artist of choice, and if that artist is a little bit more stylized or a lot more stylized, see if you can pick up where you see these differences in the artistic choices. So, and when you do that, try to really pay attention to the types of folds that they're representing. So if you have like a diaper fold or a spiral fold, like for instance, how many folds is this artist using to represent that sort of stretching or twisting in the fabric? What kind of shapes are they using to do that? How many or how few are they using? So all of these things are important when you're trying to study these artists. It's not about copying. Again, I want to reiterate that because copying is easy. It's just replacing one thing you see on the screen onto your own painting, and that's not what we're trying to do. So the artist in question that we have today, by the way, guys, is a very interesting. I only discovered her recently. So this painting is from Jessie Wilcox Smith, um, and she is a painter from the late 1900s. So 1870 to I think somewhere 1920s, 1930s, or even later. I think she became 70 years old. Um, the cool thing about her is like she studied under Howard Pyle, a very famous artist, and she was one of the first, or even the first, to be admitted in the Artist Hall of Fame. I'm not sure which it is, but it's an American one, of American illustrators, so a very high title. And she was one of the first females to do it. And apparently, Howard Pyle was one of the pioneers that really advocated for women to be, you know, represented in the artistic field. So really cool artist. And the thing I definitely admire about her style is that she keeps a little bit of line work in there, which is really cool. So there's an element of design to it that really, I was really attracted to. And I'll tell you why in a second, like the things I really like about this artist. Um, and two, she used a lot of mixed media. So that's what I read up on her. And mixed media, the thing that what that means is that she used all kinds of different media to get a certain result. So usually, if you don't use mixed media, right, it's just you either use oil painting or you do acrylic, or you do watercolor, right, or you do just ink, or you use pastel. Um, but she kind of tried a bit of everything, and then eventually came to like a sort of process where she was using mixed media to get the results. And that's why some of her paintings, as you see them right here, they appear to have that noise filter, but apparently that's through a process that she used by using charcoal and pastel first, and then using oil paint on top of that. Now, this is something I've read up on Wikipedia. I'm not an expert on this artist, but at least it's interesting to know. So we're definitely not going to try and mimic um, the results. What we're trying to do is understand the choices, the artistic choices that this artist is making. Um, and one of them, and I can only speak from estimation or guesstimation, from what I know from fundamentals and what I'm seeing, um, what the end result is. Right, I can't see her process. Right, they didn't have Gumroad tutorials back then. unfortunately. What I'm seeing is that, one, this is an overcast day, right? So there's not a lot of direct shadows. So there's very soft shadowing. Now that doesn't mean that she's using a particular style, but what that does seem to imply, the way that I'm seeing her painting around the highlights, is that she's using a kind of watercolor approach. So that's what I'm trying to do as well. I'm trying to stain the canvas, trying to kill the white of the canvas, and trying to not over saturate my areas that gonna need highlight, because they're gonna get too dark, right? If this was physical paper, you cannot layer on top of layer on top of layer with watercolors. That's impossible. So I'm gonna try and avoid a little bit of that, those highlight areas, and focus on the midtones, the halftones, as well as the shadow areas. That's another thing when you're studying an artist. That's why I'm making you guys repeat these exercises over and over and over, because you can always focus or shift your focus on a different principle. For instance, now we're focusing on these folds, but if you're efficient at that, and you're looking at the way that this artist is lighting this figure, it still looks three-dimensional, and that's for a reason. It's because they really understand how to light simple forms, and how they can then apply that onto more complex shapes, and still design the shapes in a way that it's still informative about what kind of simple shape this is. So for instance, these puffy shoulders, right, they still need to look round. When you light them, they still need to have volume. So you're not going to put your highlight like here, because it's going to flatten that out. So those are things you really need to consider. And in this case, for this artist, like, it's all about subtlety, and I really like that. So I'm gonna, because I think like this half lock fold that we have here, she probably penciled that in, and that's why it has a darker edge. The cool thing about that, Leyendecker does the exact same thing, where they have, let's say, a diaper fold, you know, like this. And what they'll do often is they'll just put a heavy dark line on that top part, because they know where the light is coming from, and then color that in. The thing that is going to do is it's going to give you the suggestion of a Terminator, right, or a core shadow. So it's going to read as a rounder object. All right, thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this clip, make sure you head over to artwatt.com, where we have a lot more of this content, along with classrooms to accompany each of these assignment cycles, tutorials, a complete beginner's course for you to enjoy and get you up and running with the program. We have an amazing community on Discord where I'm very active. We do online doodle sessions. We do live classrooms that are recorded. We have some great support teachers. So if you want to get access to all of that, make sure you visit artwatt.com, and I will see you there.